How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another tier list for you guys. We're going to be focusing on the manager sack race because if you cast your mind back to last season, I think it was a record for the most amount of managerial casualties in a season. We're yet to see one so far this season. But there are a few candidates early doors who could be the first ones on the list to be sacked. You're looking at potential even Pochettino, Heckingbottom, a few other candidates in there as well. So we've got 6 tiers that we're going to bring you, starting from sack ASAP to in big trouble, jury's out, give him time, safe, and lifetime contract. So we've got every single manager in the Premier League and we're going to be putting them into those specific tiers. And we're going to start off with Big Ange Postecoglou. Where's he going?
I'm loving Big Ange instead.
Yeah.
He has to get a lifetime contract.
Oh, after 6 games?
6 games, lifetime contract. No, maybe he can't get it that quickly.
I think he goes into safe.
Definitely safe, because he's doing such a good job. It's not just about the results. It's more about everything that he's brought, how he's conducted himself and how he's reinvigorated the club. So I think he's definitely safe for now, but he's not, honestly, if we're still going this strong by the end of the season, it's definitely going to turn into a lifetime contract.
Yeah. If things just don't take a dip from now until the end of the season, then he's going to have to go in lifetime contract. But just because it's 6 games, you have to kind of err with a tiny bit of caution at least. So
keep your feet on the ground a bit.
Yeah. So Ange Postecoglou goes into safe. Next up is Mikel Arteta. I mean, he's been there for what, 5 years now?
So it will actually be 4 years come November because it was 2019 he got appointed.
4 years. He has improved year on year.
Yep. But the thing is with Arteta this season is just strange because he had a good thing going last season with how his team was set up. And he seems to have tweaked it really unnecessarily this season, like with the Havertz signing. He's even bringing in Jorginho last January. And they don't seem as fluid this season. They seem to be trying to create a new way of playing before they've even really perfected the first way. And so it's a bit of a strange situation. They are still unbeaten. They're still going, pretty well, albeit North London derby wasn't their best performance.
I wouldn't. We've seen their best performance all season. I think they've been with results going their way. They've been getting results over the line, but I don't think performances have matched their results.
No, but look, they did. Well, they were in a title race last season, but they did obviously bottle in the end. They do have a tendency to bottle things near the end. They've done it twice now, albeit they did have good seasons, have been improving. He did win a cup in his first year, but that's a while ago now. I don't think he's at lifetime contract, considering how at the same point in Klopp's reign at Liverpool and stuff and Pep's reign at City, they were much further along maybe than Arsenal are. So I would probably put him in. He's definitely safe, but I wouldn't put him in lifetime contract just yet.
You wouldn't?
No.
I mean, to take Arsenal from where they were to a title race last year, I know he bottled it, but I don't think they had any right at the start of the season to be in that title race. They bottled top 4 the year before, which was terrible in my opinion. But I think because he's improved year on year, the Arsenal fans absolutely love him. They don't want him to go anytime soon. I don't think there's any sign of any sort of. Maybe there is sign of maybe chinks in the armor, but I don't think there's signs of maybe completely falling off or anything like that. I mean, You would say they're a massive safe bet for the top 4 this year for sure. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, from where he took them over to where they are now, I think, he's changed the club completely.
Yeah, I know. And he's done great, don't get me wrong. But is he has he done that well that you have to say, he's at that stage where he's he's got a lot of credit in the bank, don't get me wrong. And he's obviously doing a great job, but he hasn't really done that extra mile that maybe the other elite managers have at this stage in their tenure, albeit he's a younger manager. So considering it's his first full-time job, I'm not saying he hasn't done brilliantly, because he has. And the fact that they were even in the title race last season is testament to that. But this season, I'm seeing a few funny things. I just want to see how things go this season. And do they need to be in another title race this season for him, not to stay in a job, but for him to be put in that same conversation as those other managers?
I think it very much also depends on what they do in the Champions League. Because whatever you want to say about it, English teams are always going to be put on a pedestal in the Champions League. And I think they're probably within the top 6 teams in the Champions League, which means they can go very deep into it. Mm-hmm. And let's say they get to a Champions League final or semi-final and finish in the top 4.
He has to do it. He has to do it. He hasn't done it.
Of course he has to do it. But let's say he does do that. And let's say he's nowhere near the title, in the top 4 and gets into the latter stage of the Champions League. Would that represent a good season for them, do you reckon?
If they get to a Champions League final and finish in the top 4, it's a good season, I would say. Or
semi-final.
Semi-final, it's like, okay. It's like good. It's good. It's not like amazing, but it's good, yeah.
What does he need to do for his job to become under threat?
I think be in a serious battle for top 4 and be in danger of missing out on it, and then maybe doesn't get past the quarters in the Champions League, or doesn't get past.
Do you see that being a possibility?
You never know, especially with injuries mounting. But I think probably not. But look, this season they haven't looked the same, so we have to wait and see how things play out over the long term. But if the performances don't improve, then it will become a possibility.
I would say right now, as of today, I would put him a level above Ange Postecoglou, because Postecoglou's only been here 6 games. Obviously, he's revolutionised the way we play.
Yeah, but we're already going toe-to-toe with Arteta.
Yeah, look, that's one game. That's one game.
Happened.
It did happen, but it is only just one game. Arteta has shown over a longer stretch consistent improvements.
Yeah, but Postecoglou, we can only go on what we've seen, and Postecoglou's only had 6 games.
Yeah,
so he's definitely safe. I don't think Arteta's in lifetime contract yet.
I think he is. Because of the consistent improvements, because of where the club are now to where he took over the club. I think it's not. Look, you can compare him to Klopp and Pep Guardiola all you want, but he's taken over an Arsenal team that were mid-table in the 8ths and then he finished 8th himself. Fair enough, but he has done consistently improved. He's got Arsenal back into the Champions League. He's even got a trophy behind him. He's even had a title race up until April. So I think, like, if you would have asked Arsenal fans at the time Arteta would have taken over, he would have done these things in that space of time, I think they would have absolutely bitten your hand off for it.
Yeah, 100%. Of course they would. But all right, fine. We can put him in a lifetime contract then.
As much as it pains me to say it, I don't want to put him there, but I think that's what his job deserves so far.
All right.
Next up is Marco Silva of Fulham, currently sitting in 11th. Last season, they had a really impressive season, to be fair. I like Marco Silva. I don't think he's in lifetime contract. I think I don't know, it's a hard one.
Obviously had a great season last season, finishing in the top 10. But this season, I think it's more down to maybe things out of his control, the whole Mitrovic situation. Obviously, Paulinho was close to leaving, but he ended up staying. But I think I can see Fulham, they're really going to be, they're already struggling to like really score goals and on the attack without Mitrovic there. Raul Jimenez isn't doing it.
I don't. 2 goals less than Man United.
Yeah, well, Man United are struggling massively as well. I think if things really they could easily slip a lot further down the table for them, like the way they're playing at the moment, albeit results are still okay. So I think he's probably, I think maybe it's a give him time situation, because maybe give it time for performances to improve, because he had a great season last season.
Yeah, I think if they are,
I don't think he's that safe at the moment.
I think if they do get embroiled in a relegation battle this year, I would like to see them stick with him, because I think he is a really good manager, and I think with some backing behind him, he can really take this club to the next level than what they're at.
He might get frustrated himself, knowing knowing how his personality.
Yeah, that's also true. But with the job he did last season was brilliant. It really was brilliant. Obviously, he had a Mitrovic behind him that absolutely banged in the goals last season. Doesn't have that this year. Been replaced with Raul Jimenez. It's just not an adequate replacement, in my opinion. I think the club have let him down a bit in that sense. So it's a bit unfortunate, but I think he probably has to go and give him time.
Yeah, go and give him time.
All right, so Marco Silva goes in to give him time. Next up is Roberto De Zerbi. I'm going to go in lifetime contract straight up.
I agree. I don't think anyone could have asked for a better job than he's done since coming over Brighton. Straight into Europe, currently 3rd in the league, having won 5 of his first 6 games this season. The fact that the most impressive thing for me about De Zerbi is doesn't matter who plays, it doesn't matter what team he puts out, they still play the same way, they still play great football, and they're still so easy on the eye, and they're still getting results. And it's incredible, absolutely incredible, outperforming teams and managers with much bigger budgets. and playing much better football. Like Ten Hag and other managers consistently complain about injuries and these things, which sometimes are valid considering, United have like 12 injuries, but De Zerbi can change his whole team, doesn't complain a bit, can play Pascal Gross a right back, and they're still playing amazing football and doesn't have any complaints or anything. So it's incredible job. Incredible.
And everyone commends the job that Graham Potter did at Brighton and like, wow, look at this Brighton team. They're such a good team. I mean, De Zerbi just took it onto a completely new planet, didn't he?
100%.
Completely new planet. So De Zerbi, lifetime contract for sure. Ooh, next up is Sean Dyche of Everton.
You know what? Before the Brentford game, I was like, this guy could be in serious trouble. Like, if he doesn't win that game, like they're not playing that well, Everton, albeit maybe a couple games this season.
As well.
They do have a nice run, but a couple games this season, the opposition keepers were man of the match, weren't they? So they got a bit unlucky. But then there were some games where they just looked pitiful. They lost 4-0 away to, who was it to? I can't remember who they lost 4-0 away to now, off the top of my head. But they lost 4 to Villa. It was a really poor performance. Against Arsenal, they were toothless. Usually in those kind of games, they give Arsenal a game and they at least try to bloody their noses a bit, but they didn't lay a glove on Arsenal in that game. They've lost the lead so many times, and off the back of also last season, I know he kept them up, but it wasn't like. I didn't even think he did it that impressively. Like,
is that all down to the manager, though?
I'm saying they scraped through, like a last-minute late winner in the last day. Like, he didn't. I don't think performances massively improved under him. I just thought they got the job just about done.
That's Sean Dyche, though, in a nutshell. Getting the job done.
I just think
if you want to survive relegation, I mean, this is the guy for you. I mean, where should Everton be right now? The ownership is absolutely terrible. Recruitment is absolutely terrible. And
I'm sorry. I'm looking at their team. It's not them like amazing, but they got some good players in there who can be doing, I think, more than what Sean Dyche is showing, in my opinion. I think a lot of it is then bogged down on his very pragmatic football. And look, they get occasional results, but the football's been horrendous. It's so hard to watch, and I can't see the Everton fans putting up with it that much longer if results don't dramatically improve.
I'm thinking, like, who is going to come in and like make them a mid-table club or start to push for the top half again?
I don't know. I don't know
if anyone is.
I think someone can. Look, we have the same conversations with Spurs, and look what Postecoglou's done. Like, I think if you get a character in there who wants to play better football, and he's got good players there. Danjuma's a good player. Calvert-Lewin's a good player. Onana's a good player. Like, they got good players there. If he wants to play football, not to say they're going to be, in the top half necessarily, but I think they got players there to not be close to a relegation battle if they play good football, or at least have something to build. Because at the moment, I think Everton fans must be watching and thinking, what are they like hanging on to? Just staying up, like just about like scraping results and staying up. That's what they got to cling on to under Sean Dyche. And right now, the results aren't great. I know they did just get a win against Brentford, so I think that relieves the pressure a bit. And that was a really good result, to be fair. But I don't know. I think he may be in big trouble.
I really don't think he's in trouble.
I think he is.
I just think like he's doing what he says on the tin. This is what they hired him for. What else,
but Everton fans going to put up with that for longer.
Everton fans have got a bigger gripe with the ownership and the structure of. They were fighting to keep FFP, to hit FFP levels last season. They've brought in a few decent signings over the years, but I think they're in a mess in terms of top to bottom, and I don't think the manager is to do with it. I think it's all to do with the ownership model and the way they kind of treat the football club. I
get it, but I'm looking at their squad, and I think it's comparable to a lot of the mid-table squads or teams in and around there.
Where should they be finishing, do you reckon?
Probably in the bottom half, but I don't think they should be involved in another relegation battle, and they look set to be. And after 2 relegation battles in a row, they've brought in Sean Dyche, who obviously did amazing at Burnley, like keeping them in the Premier League. But when you've got Everton, I think have better players than what Burnley did, and so he should be making sure they're not even involved in a relegation battle and they're around mid-table. And at the moment, it looks like they are going to be involved in a relegation battle. And come December, if they're still around 16th, 15th, 16th, 17th, like surely his job's got to be under pressure.
I don't know if it would be, because I think if it comes to it down to that end of the season when he's in 14th, 15th, they know that they're most likely going to stay up playing with Sean Dyche, and he will probably keep them up.
I think it would be, because last season they scraped relegation, and yes, obviously they're always going to be worried going into the season about what's going to happen, but surely the aim is to kick on, at least get mid-table finish, or lower to top, lower half. Top of the lower half, sorry. That's what I mean, top of the lower half. And at the moment, I don't know if he's going to, at the moment, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Well, we'll have to wait and see. It's very early on, but I think he's in big trouble if he doesn't turn results around quickly, go on a good run, in my opinion.
So where do you reckon you'd put him?
In big trouble.
Big trouble?
I would say in big trouble.
I think from what it sounds like you're saying, it's probably more jury's out.
I think he needs to turn results around, and he has got the win, so maybe he is starting to. But if he'd
his next 2 games are Luton at home and Bournemouth at home.
He has to win those.
Yeah.
He has to win those games. And then that'll relieve the pressure a bit. But I think if he goes on a run where they're not getting too many wins over the next 10 games, I think he's in big trouble, I would say. But maybe jury's out.
Let's put him in jury's out. Next up is Eddie Howe of Newcastle. Not the greatest start of the season. Obviously just won 8-0 though. Took Newcastle into the Champions League for the first time in a very long time. You'd probably say Eddie Howe's in. I wouldn't say lifetime contract, but safe.
Yeah, he's safe. Obviously, he's had a good week. Was drawn at the San Siro, won 8-0. Haven't had the amazing start of the season, but they're still 8th, having won 3 of their first 6 games. They have lost 3, which is a big, not surprise, but last season it took them 29 games to lose 3 games. And this season is already, they lost 3 of their first 6. So a bit of a drop off there. So there's got to be a bit of a concern. They don't look like they're the same solid defensive side maybe as they were last season, although maybe the past week there's signs of them getting back to it. So look, especially with Newcastle and what they're capable of financially, there's always going to be that element of can they get better, and is there always due an upgrade. So I wouldn't say lifetime contract, but I think he's safe for sure.
Next up is Thomas Frank of Brentford. Obviously, he's done an absolutely incredible job at Brentford. Brought him up from the Championship. Did he even bring them up from a division below that, or was it just from the Championship?
I think he did bring them up from League One. I'm not 100% sure on that. But
regardless, he's brought them up from the Championship. He's made them a solid Premier League side. I actually think he's got a job for life there, Thomas Frank.
I think it's a lifetime contract, 100%.
He's just one of those managers that suits the club down to a T. And I got a feeling like if Thomas Frank went to another team, he won't be as successful as he was at Brentford.
Yeah, I think it's one of those perfect kind of marriages. I feel like these kind of things, they're rare to come by, like mid-table teams who are happy with their manager being like for example, like Alan Kirbishley at Charlton, like Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis at Stoke. They're these kind of managers where there's just like a happy marriage there. It's not so common in the game anymore. So it's really nice to see when you see like a Thomas Frank who's really doing well at Brentford. And everyone seems happy with him, even though they're not like challenging near the top, but they're still delighted with the job he's doing. So yeah, I think he's a lifetime contract considering the job he's done.
All right, I agree. So Thomas Frank goes into lifetime contract. Let's go to Paul Heckingbottom of Sheffield United. Very strange one, this, because obviously he gets them promotion from last season to the Championship to the Premier League. He's sitting bottom of the league with 1 point, but the performances against Tottenham, performances against Man City probably would have given their fans encouragement that they can go to these kind of big teams and make it hard for them and potentially get results on the odd occasion. But then this game against Newcastle happens this weekend, 8-0, where the team just looked like devoid of everything. They stopped trying. Defense looked absolutely tragic. And it was weird for me to see that after the performance they put in against Tottenham and against Man City. So I'm struggling with this one because usually if you lose 8-0, you put in sack ASAP. But judging by the other results, or not the results, but the performances against the big boys, against Man City and Spurs, you'd probably say, I don't know. Where would you put him? I
would say he's probably still in big trouble at least, just because at the end of the day, they lost those games. They couldn't hold on. And I think that goes as much as they gave a good account of themselves at the end of the season. And there's no safety zone for people who gave a good account of themselves. It's points on the board and they didn't get the points. So look, they didn't disgrace themselves, but they still lost the games. 8-0 against Newcastle was very, very concerning. Apart from like a good draw against Everton, where even in that game, I thought they were second best and they were just got a couple of goals against run of play. They've been so poor, I think, for a lot of the season. Even in the games against City and Spurs, they did well, but they didn't really... They weren't really involved like in hurting the opposition. It was just like they got goals against run of play, and they kind of contained them, but not really because there was a lot of missed chances for Spurs and for City. Like City missed a penalty, Spurs had chances as well. They probably should have been leading before they were 1-0 down. So I think a lot of luck goes into that.
Like they got those.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying they haven't. I don't think they've been that. I don't think they've been that great. And then you put in the 8-0 in there. Like, that's got to be a massive concern. But he did great to get them up last season. I think maybe no one really expected him to get up.
I would say in big trouble.
Put him in big trouble.
All right. So Heckingbottom goes in big trouble. He's lucky to get in big trouble because usually if you're 8-0, if you lose 8-0, you go and sack ASAP. But I think those defensive performances against Man City and Tottenham just buys him maybe a tiny bit more time. Next one is Iraola of Bournemouth. He's coming with a bit of a reputation from Valladolid, was it? From Spain last year?
Yeah, did a great job in Valladolid last season.
Yet to win a game though, 3 draws, 3 losses. I did expect a bit more from Iraola, especially maybe in these early stages. Losses against Liverpool, Tottenham, and Brighton. So it's the kind of games you expect them to lose.
It's tough games, isn't it?
Drawn against Chelsea, drawn against Brentford, and I'm not sure who they drew against first game of the season.
They drew against West Ham as well. So
they've had a very hard start to the season, let's be honest.
So those aren't bad draws though as well. They're like not bad results.
I would say I would put Iraola and give him time.
Yeah, because I also think they're like as much as like if I'm comparing them to how I'm looking at Sheffield United in terms of level of performance, they're performing much better even against the good teams. Like when Bournemouth went to Anfield, I know they lost 3-1, but they went 1-0 up. They were looking really dangerous and they gave them a good game against Brighton as well, 1-0 up, and they gave them a good game. Like if we're comparing like that to what Sheffield United did against Spurs and City, like, yes, in theory, the Spurs and City games were closer, but I think Bournemouth looked a lot better in those games, in my opinion, even though maybe Sheffield United potentially were closer to getting a result. So I'm confident Bournemouth can turn it around. I'll give him time. All
right. Iraola goes in to give him time. Next up is Jurgen Klopp. I think we can breeze past this one. Surely he gets a lifetime contract.
100%. I think people when at the beginning of the season, like, because he had a bad season, maybe they forget how good he's been at Liverpool and like how as well he had a bad season in COVID and then nearly won the quad the next season. So he's already had a quick turnaround in terms of results. And I think he can do it again. He's been unbelievable for Liverpool. So yeah, easy.
Next up is Vincent Kompany. This is an interesting one. Obviously smashed the championship last year with flying colours, with unbelievable football being played in the championship, completely flipping the script of what Burnley usually do. They've come into the Premier League this year a bit naive, in my opinion. Performances are okay. Some good performances from the likes of Foster and Koleosho, but yet to win a game, 1 draw, 4 defeats, heavy defeats as well. 3-0 to Man City, 3-1 to Villa, 5-2 to Tottenham. Only just about lost 1-0 to Man United, where maybe they should have got more out of that game, to be fair. And they drew with Nottingham Forest. Where would you say he goes?
But they do, they have played 1 game less, though, than everyone in that game in hand is against Luton. Yeah. But I would say give him time. Again, I think a bit like Iraola, I'm liking how they're looking. Although I actually think Bournemouth may be looking a bit better than Burnley right now in terms of in terms of level of performance. I think they're more in games. Burnley have definitely been a bit more naive and they've definitely been giving up a lot of chances. And also 4 of their 5 games have been at home and they've lost all. The only point they picked up was away from home. So it's a bit of a concern. But again, the home games, Spurs, City, Villa and United. So it doesn't get too much harder than that, really, does it? So I think give him time. I still think they're looking decent at how they're playing, but the results are a bit concerning. And he probably would have hoped after 5 games they'd have more than a point. But I think give him time.
Yeah. All right. So Vincent Kompany goes in to give him time. Oh, this next one, David Moyes. This is a very interesting one because if you would have said before the cup final last season, everyone would say sack him now, sack him now, sack him now. Terrible season in the league. They stayed clear of relegation quite easy in the end, but it looked like at one point they were going to be kind of sucked into it. This year, they've started the season like a house on fire. Obviously taking confidence from the Conference League win at the back end of last season. A lot of people were just saying like, you know what? Just let him go after this win because it ain't going to get any better than winning the Conference League. But they've had a really good transfer window. James Ward-Prowse, Mohamed Kudus. I mean, some of these names that they've brought in, Alvarez in midfield, really good. And they've started the season their 7th, 3 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses. And the 2 losses coming against Man City and Liverpool, which you very much expect. So
it is the last 2 games as well.
It is the last 2 games. But, I mean, if you would have asked me this at the back end of last season before the final, I would have said sack ASAP, but now I'd probably say he's safe.
I would say he's safe. I wouldn't say lifetime contract. The reason being, I think if results start to turn a bit, I think you look at that squad that he's got, and there's 100% a manager who could play good football with them. And I know they've started. They're playing all right now. They're still playing the same kind of David Moyes brand of football, and I'm sure West Ham fans are happy because they're getting the results. But if maybe a few games where they should have won, they don't win because he's played in this pragmatic style, I think the fans will start to get frustrated. And and I don't think it's a similar situation to Everton where you're like, who can they get? I think a lot of managers can play very good stuff with what the squad they've got, 100%. So I think he's safe, but not. Even though he won the cup last season, he's not on a lifetime contract.
Yeah. Agreed. David Moyes goes into safe. Next up is Gary O'Neill of Wolves. Strange case with Gary O'Neill, how he got sacked with Bournemouth last year after having such a good job he did there, saving them from relegation and quite well, to be fair. He's got into Wolves. He's definitely improved them for sure. I think the way they're playing their football, the resurgence of Pedro Neto, but still the same old problems with Wolves.
Has he improved them?
I think in terms of the way they're playing, I think
from last season,
them. Yeah,
under Julian Lopetegui.
Yeah,
really?
I think so. Yeah.
How? In what way?
I think they're creating more chances, still not putting them in the back of the net.
They just drew to Luton.
I know they've just drew to Luton, but apart from that Luton game, I've been fairly impressed with the way they've been playing their football.
I think jury's out for me. I haven't been that impressed with him, to be honest. They just lost in the Carling Cup last night as well, to Ipswich. I know like some performances they've done all right. They've got some good players there, but look, it's not totally his fault because they don't really have a very potent striker. But I think they from the games they've had, they could be easily on a few more points than they've been on already this season. And there've been some good performances, but they haven't been able to maintain them, in my opinion. And I think I definitely don't think they've improved from last season. I think Lopetegui did a brilliant job last season, and I don't think they're a better team this season under O'Neill, in my opinion. And they're currently 16th. I can't remember, probably around 15th. But he took over at the bottom, weren't they? They were bottom of the league when he took over, and he kept them up pretty comfortably in the end. I
mean, the games that they've lost, Crystal Palace aside, is all games you expect them to lose. And the Man United game, they should have definitely got more out of that. The Bournemouth game, the Brighton game, they just got completely destroyed in that game. 3-2 away at Crystal Palace, can happen to anyone, and then 3-1 at home to Liverpool. So they have had a fairly
drew Luton.
And yeah, that Luton game is definitely a blot against him for sure. But even that Luton game, they go down to 10 men. And they should have won the game. I know Luton probably played better in the first half, but after they went down to 10 men, I thought they were the better side.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game in its entirety, but from what I can see from the stats, it seemed like Luton had a lot of the chances.
Penalty.
Yeah, but you're playing a Luton team who are probably the worst team in the league. I think jury's out for me. I think jury's out. I'm not confident he can keep them up.
Jury's out after 6 games.
Yeah. I'm not that. I think they've got a good squad there, and I think that if he's in a relegation,
I don't think they got a good squad.
They got some good players. I really like João Gomez. I like
they've got a couple of good players. They don't have a good squad.
I like Neto. I like Haag. I think he's a good player as well.
But that's why Lopetegui left, because he didn't feel like he could have done the job with the squad that he has, and they weren't giving him any signings.
Yeah, and there's nothing to suggest that O'Neill can just yet. I just think the jury's out. I don't know. I'm not convinced he's going to last the season at Wolves, to be honest.
All right, we'll put him in jury's out. You've convinced me. Next up is Pep Guardiola. You know where to put him, Sammy. There's not even a conversation.
It's too easy.
Here.
You have to sack him now. Just
there should
for the
be
sake
another
of the Premier League
on top of that, just for Pep.
Honestly, for the sake of the league, just sack him now.
Next
make
up
him more
is
competitive.
Maurizio Pochettino. 1 win, 2 draws, 3 losses in his first 6 games. Currently sitting 14th in the league. They can't seem to get a goal, but I do think performances are not exactly. I don't think they're terrible. I think they're getting a lot of chances. They just can't seem to put the ball in the back of the net. And I kind of feel if they do get a goal scorer, things will change. And I feel like if they give him time to work with a completely new squad, you're talking about how many new players have they got in that team? It was always going to take time to gel. So I would put him and give him time.
I would put him and give him time. The only thing that makes me think jury's out is just because of the ownership. Like if they're in the same position in a few months' time that Potter was in, that they sacked Potter for essentially, then like why did they sack Potter? And if they're sacking Potter for that situation, what gives Pochettino the right to be given more time than Potter? So are they going to sack him? Yeah, he's maybe a better manager. Potter was a good manager in his own right as well. Done a great job at Brighton beforehand. So there was also reason to maybe stick by Potter, maybe more of a reason to stick by Poch. But like I think the problems are very, very similar. So I'm worried for him just that if he can't turn it around like to a really good effect, are the board just going to be ruthless with him like they were with Potter at the time? Yeah. So that's the only question. But I do think they
would have learned from their lessons.
I do
sacking Potter.
Yeah, I do think they should give him time. But the thing is, like, but maybe they would have learned from their lessons, but nothing's improved. So what lesson is there? How have they been proved wrong, if you know what I mean?
Because they've been proved wrong because you look at the Arsenal model and what Mikel Arteta did. When things were going wrong, they stuck with their guns, they stuck with their manager, they kept backing him, and they got it right. So I think they need to look at those kind of models. And if you've got a squad full of young players that you've just brought in, it's crazy to think that they're just going to gel straight away and you're just going to start winning games. If you bring in Pochettino, you need to give him the time to gel these players together.
They must be looking at Spurs, and Spurs, their average age of their team was actually younger than Chelsea's, like on the weekend, and theirs seems to be gelling a lot quicker.
Yeah, but
so maybe it's just a different thing.
It's a completely different case. You look at all these players that have come in at Chelsea. That like you can't bring in so many players. They spent £1 billion in the last year or whatever it is, bringing in all these kind of up and coming players, which can be good in the future. But none of them are kind of the stature of maybe some of the Spurs players that we've got, like Yves Bissouma. Maybe you can say it's comparable to someone like Mickey van de Ven, but I don't even think so. Cuti Romero's there, who's a World Cup winner, where you can maybe say is the likes of Enzo. But you're looking at Spurs have a lot of kind of experience with the youth as well. It's not just youth at Spurs. Chelsea is mainly youth with maybe one or two experienced players dotted in there.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And I'll tell you the difference as well. I feel like Chelsea have signed players who haven't got that many games under their belts, like Palmer. Like he spent 45 million on him. He's played 12 games for City in his career, and barely any of them will start.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a case. I would say give him time because I think he's a great manager. They have to give him time.
They have to. If they don't, they're so stupid. So Poch goes in to give him time. Next up is the Luton manager. What's his name?
Rob Edwards.
There you go. I think he's in big trouble, to be fair. They've been the worst team in the league by far.
But it was absolute difference between him to Sheffield United and Burnley. Although it was very impressive for Burnley and Sheffield United to go up, they did it probably unexpectedly. But Luton, it was literally a miracle that they got promoted. Absolute miracle. I think most even Luton fans probably came into the season knowing they were going to really struggle.
But is that to do with the manager or to do with just the club itself? Is any manager going to come in there and save them from the drop?
No one is, because I think they came in expecting to go back down and just take the money and reinvest it for the long term kind of thing. I don't think any Luton fan even expected them to challenge to stay up.
So why should he get sacked then?
So I don't think he should. I think they should keep him and just plan for the future. That's what I would do. So
it's a bit of a kick in the teeth. 6 games into the season, you're all right. Plan for the future in the Championship, mate.
Yeah, I think so. And to be fair to him, performances have been improving week on week, and they have been getting more and more competitive in games, but they just don't seem to have the quality.
Where are you putting him? Where can you realistically put?
I think
Rob Edwards.
Probably give him time. If they literally lose every game this season, then he probably will get sacked at some point. But if he at least gets a couple of wins or some point or something, and they can just take a bit of pride going back into the Championship, I think that'll be enough for him to keep his job. I don't think they're going to sack him looking to stay up, is my point.
You said to me a week ago or so that you think that they could potentially break Derby's record of the lowest points ever.
I do.
And if that is the case, then surely he'll get sacked at some point.
Yeah, if they break Derby's record, which I actually think is a good possibility, then it's going to be tough to keep him, to be honest.
So
it's going to be tough to keep him.
So maybe by your judgment, he'll go into big trouble.
But yeah, it's a difficult one because I think they're pretty much guaranteed to go down.
But at this stage last season, Bournemouth were guaranteed to go down.
Yeah, but I'm seeing less from Luton than I even am from Bournemouth. Yeah, look, you never know. 6 games in, they just really seem devoid of any quality. But I guess I would have said the same about Bournemouth for this time after losing 9-0 to Liverpool. So, yeah, I guess maybe jury's out. Maybe give him a jury's out.
All right, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Rob Edwards goes into jury's out. Next one is Roy Hodgson. Roy.
Why is he still here? I mean, he's doing all right, but like
10th in the league.
I know they're doing okay. Considering no Olise as well, they've sold Zaha. They've dealt with it decently. I don't think they've really kicked on, but they haven't really regressed too much. So I don't think they could complain. I wouldn't want to give him time though, because it's not. I don't think
he doesn't have time.
Yeah, he doesn't have time. This is definitely his last season, surely. If I was Palace, I wouldn't have appointed him for the season. I would have just
stick him in jury's out.
Yeah, I guess
the only place
I don't think he's in trouble of getting sacked.
Yeah,
I don't think he's safe either, though. So I think jury's out for now.
Who's
for
this
Hodgson.
next manager on the list?
Steve Cooper.
Steve Cooper of Forest. He's done an unbelievable job.
Yeah,
to
he's
be
done
honest.
well.
I'd put him in lifetime contract.
Really? I think he was on the brink of getting sacked though last season. He kept them up though, but he was on the brink
completely.
I don't think he's on a lifetime contract. I think if they're in danger of getting relegated, he will be sacked. But I don't think
they are going to be in danger of getting relegated this season.
I think they could be at some point because they've lost Brennan. Their front three, Oweoni's doing really well at the moment, but if goals dry up for him...
Morgan Gibbs-White, Callum Hudson-Odoi...
I don't know about Hudson-Odoi just yet.
They've got Elanga as well, who seems to be playing well. I mean, I'm looking at the squad that they've built there, and I'm really liking the look of it. I'm liking the way that they're playing as well. They're currently 12th, 7 points, 3 losses, 1 draw, and 2 wins. I'm looking at the other teams that are close to the drop, where Sheffield United, Burnley, and Luton. I think Nottingham Forest are miles better than all of them.
They're better than, they're definitely better
Wolves
than the bottom 3. I don't think they're miles better than Wolves, squad-wise. I don't think they're miles better.
But that's a testament to how he's managing the team, because they are better than them in terms of the way they're playing and the points they're getting on the board.
I think points-wise, yes. I wouldn't say the way they're playing. I think points-wise, they're definitely doing well. And he's doing a great job, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a lifetime contract. I think he's doing a great job, and he did really well to get them up.
So put him in safe, because he is very much safe for now.
I think he's safe for sure. He's definitely safe.
All right. Steve Cooper goes into safe.
Haven't had any no Saka nows yet. No Saka
Next
ASAPs.
is Eric Ten Hag. I've said, I've gone on record and said that I think he's going to get sacked this season. I still stand by it. He just doesn't seem like a happy man in the job at the moment. Constant problems, constant player battles, the latest one being Jadon Sancho. I'm going to go and say he's in big trouble.
You reckon big trouble?
Yeah.
I was thinking either big trouble or jury's out. Look, definitely not give him time because he's had time. So things have to be now. Like, it's not about like process or all these things. Like, he has to be getting the results now. Otherwise, there's no going back. Look, did get the win against Burnley, relieved the pressure a bit, but again, unimpressive. Did get the win in midweek in the Carling Cup, but yeah, I think who they got next? They got Palace next again in the league. He's got to go on a run and maybe go.
They don't have the fixtures for it now.
Yeah, maybe next 5 games, maybe don't lose any of them and win maybe 3 of them or something, and then all of a sudden that relieves the pressure a lot. But he's also under a lot of pressure to get back in that top 4 and even kick on from last season, which it seems almost impossible at this point to kick on from last season, 3rd and a cup. Can anyone see them now getting 3rd in the cup, considering all their issues? So
there's too many problems there at that.
There's a lot
club.
of problems.
There's too many problems, and I'm not sure if he helps himself at times.
But Højlund's just getting started as well, so maybe when he gets going, that could turn it around.
Right now, he's in big trouble, but it's either going to go one of 2 ways, isn't it? Either he gets himself out of it, or he gets sacked.
All right, he's in big trouble. Ten Hag's in big trouble.
And then last but not least, Unai Emery at Aston Villa. Obviously got them into the Europe this season, going well. 6th in the league, 4 wins, 2 losses. I think he's safe.
Yeah, he's definitely safe. What I would say is the 2 losses, 5-1 away at Newcastle, 3-0 away at Liverpool. I know that may be games you expect them to lose, but the manner of the losses must have been very disappointing because Villa were giving the big teams a good game last season, even away from home, like on the counter. You would have thought they would have given them a better game than they have, and those were really disappointing performances. But look, they've won the other 4, so exactly. He's had a good start. Not lifetime contract, but he's safe. He's safe.
All right, so Unai Emery goes into safe. No one's imminently getting sacked.
No one's in sack ASAP. I think maybe Heckingbottom is a bit lucky, but I think what we want to do is this will be like a monthly thing. It'll be like a revolving tier list, and we'll just like kind of review it each month and see where people are at.
Well, let's go through it one more time. So in SAC ASP, there's obviously no one. Ten Hag and Heckingbottom are in big trouble. You've got Roy Hodgson, Gary O'Neill, Sean Dyche, and who's that one?
Rob Edwards.
Rob Edwards, and jury's out. In Give Him Time, you've got Poch, Kompany, Iraola, and Silva. In Safe, you've got Unai Emery, Steve Cooper, Moyes, Eddie Howe, and Postecoglou. And in Lifetime Contract, you've got Arteta, De Zerbi, Frank, Klopp, and Pep.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And look, we'll see in a month's time if anything changes. Maybe managers will be dropping down to that sack him now.
By the time this season finishes, Postecoglou will be in lifetime
100%. Come January, mate.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. That is the tier list. Let me know if you disagree with anything we say. Which tier list do you think each and individual manager should go in? Let me know in the comment section below. But thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.